The alien princess pointed at me before the council and declared, "This human is my mate," leaving everyone. The first time I set foot inside the grand hall of the Thalorian Council, I was convinced I had made the worst mistake of my life. The room itself was massive, vaulted ceilings that seemed to scrape the heavens, banners of alien script fluttering in invisible currents, and a long semicircle of high thrones carved from black obsidian stone. Each throne held a being more alien, more regal, and more intimidating than the last. They were the rulers of Thala Prime, a planet light years from Earth, and I was a lone human standing in their midst. I was there as part of a diplomatic envoy. Humanity had just stumbled onto faster-than-light travel, and the United Terran Coalition wanted me, an anthropologist of all things, to serve as a cultural advisor. I had studied ancient Earth civilizations, and someone in command decided that my knack for deciphering ritual and politics might help us navigate alien diplomacy. But standing there in front of the shimmering golden floor, knees practically buckling, I wondered if they had made a colossal mistake sending me. The council's murmurs rumbled through the chamber like distant thunder. The translator chip in my ear buzzed, struggling to keep up with the layered alien dialects. They were discussing us, humanity, as though we were a curiosity, a dangerous unknown, or perhaps a potential pawn in their endless interstellar games. And then everything changed. From a side corridor draped in silver cloth emerged a figure who immediately commanded every gaze in the room. She was tall, lithe, and radiant in a way no words could properly capture. Her skin shimmered faintly as if embedded with stardust, her eyes glowed an opalescent blue, and her hair fell in silken strands that caught the light like molten silver. She wore ceremonial armor, delicate, elegant, yet clearly functional, etched with symbols of her house. This was Princess Aelira of House Vera, only daughter of the High Chancellor himself. I had read about her in the diplomatic briefings. She was young by their standards, barely a century old, but already a figure of intrigue across the galaxy. Scholars described her as brilliant, willful, sometimes reckless. What they hadn't mentioned was how utterly arresting her presence was. The council chamber grew silent as she stepped forward. Her gaze swept across the human delegation, pausing on the generals, the scientists, the diplomats. Then, impossibly, it settled on me. For a moment, I thought I was imagining it. That glow in her eyes, the way her head tilted ever so slightly, as if she were examining me alone. Then she turned to the council, her voice ringing out like a bell forged from crystal. "This human," she said, her hand rising and pointing directly at me, "is my mate." The words crashed into the chamber like a meteor. The council erupted in shocked exclamations. The translator in my ear nearly short-circuited under the weight of the overlapping voices. My heart slammed against my ribs. Did she just say what I thought she said? I opened my mouth to protest, but no sound came out. My own delegation gaped at me as though I had secretly orchestrated this absurd declaration. The High Chancellor rose from his obsidian throne, his towering frame draped in crimson robes that gleamed with authority. His expression was carved from ice. "Aelira," he said, his tone both scolding and incredulous, "you jest at a time most grave. This council convenes to discuss the fate of worlds, not indulge your whims." But Aelira did not waver. She walked toward me with regal certainty, each step echoing against the hall's flawless stone floor. She stopped mere feet away, her gaze locking onto mine. "I do not jest," she said softly, though her voice carried to every corner of the chamber. "I have seen him. I know. This human is mine." And in that instant, my life was irrevocably changed. The middle, a dangerous union. The hours after her declaration were chaos. The council demanded explanations. My delegation panicked, debating whether to distance themselves from me or protect me. Guards escorted me, not roughly but firmly, into a private chamber within the palace while negotiations raged. Alira herself appeared not long after, dismissing the guards with a flick of her hand. When the heavy doors closed, silence fell between us. "You must be very confused," she said finally, her tone softer now, almost apologetic. "Confused?" I echoed, half laughing, half panicked. "You stood in front of an intergalactic council and announced I was your mate. That's not confusion. That's insanity." But her eyes held steady on mine. "Among my people, declarations like that are not made lightly. I would not have spoken unless I knew." "Knew what?" I demanded. "That your presence was fated. That you and I are linked." She hesitated, then placed her hand gently on my chest. "When I saw you, I felt it. A bond." I wanted to dismiss it, to insist she was delusional or caught up in some political gambit. But the moment her hand touched me, a strange warmth spread through my chest, like an invisible thread pulling taut between us. I staggered back, heart racing. "What did you do?" I asked, breathless. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Nothing. That is the bond revealing itself." Over the following days, I learned the truth, or at least her truth. The Vera bloodline carried something ancient, a genetic resonance that occasionally formed an unbreakable link with another being, sometimes even beyond their species. For centuries, their myths spoke of such bonds leading to powerful alliances, even the salvation of empires. But to the council, it was scandal. A human mate? A species barely out of its cradle? To them, it was absurd, offensive even. Political rivals whispered that Alira had lost her mind, or worse, that she was scheming to use me as a pawn. And yet, when we were alone, I could not deny the pull between us. Conversations that should have been awkward instead flowed effortlessly. She spoke of the stars she had seen, the battles she had trained for, the loneliness of living under constant scrutiny. I spoke of Earth, its oceans, its books, its music. She listened as if each word was a treasure. Still, danger grew. Assassination attempts followed. One of her rivals sent mercenaries to strike during a diplomatic banquet. Alira fought them off herself, moving with a grace that left me both awed and terrified. Another night, saboteurs tried to destroy the human delegation's shuttle. Through it all, Alira stayed at my side, her presence both shield and beacon. Slowly, I realized this bond was not some fantasy. It was real. The ending. Choosing the bond. The crisis came during the Grand Convergence, a gathering where all factions of the galaxy signed treaties and formed alliances. The Council intended to use it to humiliate Alira, to strip her of titles if she did not renounce her claim. In the great amphitheater, the Chancellor's voice thundered, "Daughter, this is your final chance. Deny this bond, and you may yet retain your place. Persist, and you doom not only yourself, but our house." The Council's eyes bore into me as much as her. My delegation had urged me to stay silent, to avoid entanglement. But as Alira stood there, proud yet trembling beneath the weight of their judgment, I knew silence would be betrayal. So I stepped forward.